We are ready. We
Okay.
are ready. So we're here with Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billings, my academic grandmother. It's just impressive that I'm in the lineage. I'm in that line of work. So I'm gonna ask a few questions, and then we have pay a sample somewhere. Here. Pay a sample in the back. She is a teacher in the Clayton School District, and so she is organizing questions to ask, and these questions were developed from the work that we've been doing. And just to catch you up, so I gave a brief presentation on culturally relevant pedagogy, what it's about, what it's not about. In addition, they were grouped and answered several questions. One, why were they here? Two, what are the challenges and the barriers to implementing this process in using culture in schools? Three, what are some of the successes that they have seen or that they've heard about or that they are using? And then four, what ideas do they have? Finally, I said, so what questions do you have for the one that came up with the theory? And that's where we are now.
Okay.
Before I do that, did you want to say anything to say hey to the folks?
Just happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. This is really a delight. So, thank you.
All right. Well, let's just get to it. My first question is, what do you do for fun?
Besides, follow my granddaughter.
Yes.
At every basketball game. If y'all don't know, my granddaughter was the starting forward center for the UCLA Lady Bruins. So when you saw that Monique Billings, okay, Mo Billings, Mo Buckets, Mo Billings. She set some extraordinary records in her career there. 4 years she did finish, so they're on the quarter system, so she just finished her degree this winter quarter, just ended. She's a major, sociology major. She called me sometimes, and I think she really wants to talk about basketball, but she was like, Grandma, I need an independent study. You know all these people. Find somebody. Okay, let me find you somebody. So, I mean, I've always been kind of a sports junkie. I married a man who was a professional football player. All of my kids were required to play one sport and choose one art. They didn't have to stay with it, but they had to be involved because I understood what value that was going to be to them. When I went to the University of Wisconsin, after earning tenure there, I ended up on the athletic board. I was on that board for 7 years, and I was the faculty rep to the Big Ten. So I've had a really interesting inside look at college athletics. You know, the debate that's going on right now about paying the athletes, I'm not clear. Why? Because it's a Title IX issue too. Which one, you just gonna pay the men? Right. Okay, so there's a lot going on, and the women's sports actually don't generate much revenue. There's one or two programs that actually generate money. Maybe UConn, of course, Mississippi State, but most of them, they don't make money. You know, so I've been really interested in the impact that athletics has had on young people and on our society. So for fun, I watch a lot of sports.
Indeed. If you follow her on Facebook, you will know this.
But my most retweeted line the other night, watching the Villanova Wildcats, and I'm from Philly, so you know I rep all Philly teams. You know, I got all Eagles gear up the yin yang. And, but the other night I tweeted watching the Villanova Wildcats versus Michigan what's his name, DiVincenzo, Dante. Yeah. I said, that boy's on that vibranium. People were like, oh my God. You know. But yeah, I love social media. I love its potential impact for good. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff out there, but I think we have some responsibility. I think today, all of my feeds were filled with sort of wonderful remembrances of Dr. King, which, if that can happen, then it's worth it for all the crazy stuff. That we remind our kids that 50 years ago, man, you know, just like now we're saying we're in this really dark place, we were plunged into a very dark place 50 years ago, and we fought our way back. And it's not enough to just follow the dreamer. we got to advance the dream. So,
Thank you. All right, Paya. We ready? Teacher, we ready? Let's go to school. Take us.
All right, so this is really tough because these are a lot of really great questions. So I did my best to try and connect some questions to hopefully, actually not hopefully, I'm sure whatever information you give us, you're going to be great. Thank you. Our first question is, what are your lived experiences that have led you to this work?
oh, that's a good question. Great. So, like many folks who have spent time in institutions like this, you know, I'm sitting at Stanford, and I'm supposed to be sort of at the pinnacle, right? I'm at this world-renowned institution, and everywhere I turn, I keep hearing how black kids can't. Not just the people there, but all of the literature is telling me, oh, you can't accomplish this, you can't do this. And I'm thinking, well, then, what am I doing here? I mean, literally an N of one, maybe an N of two, because I had a really smart brother. I'm thinking, we grew up in an all-black community in West Philadelphia. We went to an all-black church. Every professional that we went to, doctors, dentists, attorneys, were black. Somebody knows how to do this. And then I went to HBCU where I had 5,000 competent black people around me every day. Why is that the narrative that it, quote, can't be done? So that in combination of looking at the dwindling numbers of black teachers, and I do know that I had a foundation of incredible black teachers, made me think about how are we going to grab the expertise of these teachers as they are leaving the profession. Okay, they're retiring, but they're not being replenished. There's a variety of reasons for why black people are not going into teaching, but one of course is the quote success of civil rights was that you don't have to be a teacher anymore. You used to be what, a teacher or a preacher, maybe a nurse. Now you can get an MBA and go work for a Fortune 500 company. You can be a lawyer. You can be a chemical engineer. You can do other things, and so teaching was becoming less attractive. And I was really fearful that we would have subsequent generations who would not have access to the expertise of these teachers. So it was really my own experience both as a student, and then I taught public school in the school district of Philadelphia for 10 years. I got to see some pretty good teachers. So I really wanted to figure out a way to share their expertise and their knowledge. And it all came out of the result of for me, the discontinuity between my own, quote, success, and I don't have what you would think of as an academic profile. My father went to 3rd grade. My mother went to high school. I am a first-generation college student. But I had an entire community rooting me on. I had an entire community say, girl, you better go up there and get that book in your hand. Girl, you better make us proud. Girl, you know we counting on you. And I didn't realize how powerful that was. And my mother passed away about 10 years ago. And we were sitting at her funeral. My husband was sitting to my right. And one of the women in the church came up to me, you know, and offered condolences, of course. And then she told my husband, she said, we always knew she was the one. I was. So, but it's that somebody, there were people in the community who were like, we got to push. We got to make this happen for her. I'm amazed at the accomplishments of other black people that I have been around. That, you know, I have a cousin who is a cardiac surgeon and an engineer. He went to Harvard to be a physician. And the summer he came home, his dad is a doctor. He came home and worked with his dad, and he hated it. Because his dad works like low income. He said, Dad, you work 14, 15 hours a day, and people don't pay you, and then you got to do all this paperwork. I don't think I want to do this. When he went back to school at Harvard, he simultaneously enrolled in MIT in
Wow.
an engineering program. He said, I'm just going to I'm going to be a medical engineer. I'm just going to make these little instruments and I'll make some money. I'll be okay. Turned out he fell back in love with medicine. Does both. And so his brothers are like, dang, man, how you get this smart? And it's funny because I remember him saying, oh, what I do is not that hard. He said, you just got to read what they got in the books and remember what it is they're asking you to do. He said, but his brother's an artist. He said, I couldn't do that if my life depended on it. So it's this appreciation of the multitude of gifts that people have, which I unfortunately don't see in schools anymore. We don't appreciate what kids bring to us. Some of these kids are scary smart, and we don't appreciate it. We don't recognize that they're bringing us all this talent. And we have really narrow notions of what success ought to look like. And it's really crushing their spirits.
Thank you. That's a word right there. Next question.
Next question, what are some ways that university programs can restructure teacher education curriculum to be more culturally relevant?
Well, I mean, the problems that I think universities run into is that in the U.S., education is a state function. So it's not a matter of I'm going to just make a program. The state has to say this is an okay program to make. And so that limitation in and of itself means there's certain things you have to have in a program, and by default, certain things you won't have in a program because there's only so much space. I do think, and I talked about this earlier with some of the graduate students here, is that we have to have better ways of being in partnership with schools. I think that's the biggest disconnect. We claim it's a partnership, but it's not. Essentially, there's somebody signed their name on it, and if it's a grant, you get the money, but it's not a partnership. Partnerships require an equality of decision making. They require sort of this struggling together through things. So some years ago, Kenneth Zeitner and Mary Louise Gomez and I did a program called Teach for Diversity. The first thing we did is we got an exemption from the state because we know we have to deal with the state, right? So we said, can you give us experimental status? And in the state of Wisconsin, that means you get 3 years to come up with something, and you can waive all the rules. And one of the things that we did with the schools is we went out, we met with all the principals, we told them what we were trying to do, and we said, we're not going to put student teachers in all of your schools. The program is called Teach for Diversity. So if, number one, you don't have a demographically diverse school, we won't be there, because that's defeating our purpose. The second thing we said is that we only want to work with schools who are willing to work with us in a new and different way. It can't be business as usual because that hasn't worked. So the new and different way required them to be able to attest that at least 1/3 of their faculty was willing to work in this new way. Why so many teachers, in a faculty? Because we were going to saturate their buildings with the students, not just one student teacher here, or 3 here, 2 here. We'll give them cohorts of at least 8 students. And we wanted them to be with teachers who wanted to work with them. We had some schools that met our demographic profile, but we couldn't take because they gave us a list of teachers, and those teachers were actually not classroom teachers. So we had the librarian, the physical education teacher, the art teacher. Like, no, we need the classroom teachers where these students are going to be certified to say, I want to work in this new way. The other thing we did is we said, when you get your students, they're yours. We're not assigning them. We're not picking the teachers. We're not saying how you should use them. That meant in the 3 schools we ended up with, because we had a cohort of 25 students, in those 3 schools, the experiences were different. In one school, they did like a rotation, like a medical rotation, so the students had 2 weeks in this, and 2 weeks in that, and then by the second semester, they were placed. But we didn't place them. People on site placed them. In the school that I was assigned to, I had a lead teacher there. That was her job. She's like, well, the principal normally does. I said, no, that's not the agreement. We're in partnership, not with the principal, we're in partnership with the teachers. And you have to make the decision. And it'll have to be your call if it's not a good match and you want to switch. They didn't recognize that they had not been in partnership before. Before they were just getting that little teeny-weeny cooperating teacher check, and we were just doing whatever we wanted to do whenever we wanted to do it. They had to be decision makers. And so if we're going to have a restructured teacher ed program, we have to have a restructured relationship with schools. And I can tell you, it's hard. I mean, one of the things we asked our students to do is to ask questions. Because we placed them in those schools for the entire year. We didn't do that moving around like we do in our undergraduate program. In our undergraduate program, our students can have up to 4 or 5 different placements, different practicums and student teaching. No, we put them there for the year so they could learn that school community. And what we said to them, because we put them in there in September, so they hadn't even had really much coursework. They had 2 courses they had taken in the summer, is ask the question about every decision. Some teachers didn't like that because they didn't really have an answer to that. When our students said, well, why are you choosing this? The answer was kind of, well, we always use this, right? But the teacher now realizing, I didn't really think this through, and this person is challenging me about the decision I made. So it wasn't smooth. But I can tell you that the folks who made it through that program and who stayed in our Madison area are now the leaders in our district. I got a couple principals. I think the current president of the Teachers Association is one of our graduates. I remember we sent one young lady to Illinois, and the folks called and said, where y'all get this girl from? Do you have any more like this? And I said, she's just garden variety for this program. But it was a different way of working, and I think if we want to think about, quote, restructuring, we had to think about not just who tells us what to do, but who are we telling what to do? I think the final thing, if you're really serious about restructuring, is we have to rethink who we think should be a teacher.
Let the church say amen. Yes.
So my former, the late colleague Marty Haberman from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I love Marty because Marty used to just tell it like it is. Marty said, we can't staff urban schools, continue to staff urban schools with 19-year-old Vestal virgins. That's got to stop.